Доброе утро, да. Ай, блядь, доброе утро, ребят. Это третий, блядь, заход за сегодня. Здрасте. Я не знаю, кто меня, блядь, сегодня будет смотреть. Я вообще не ебу, честно говоря. Вот даже не поебываю немножко, кто, блядь. Я лежал, я почти спал, блядь. Свет, сука, включили. Просто сначала отключили свет, а потом включили свет. И я такой... Оу, спасибо за то, что в 1:40 включили мне свет. Спасибо большое, блядь. Да, мы 1,5 часа ебашить в игру будем. Я не засну, блядь. Я понял, что я не засну. Я полуспал на протяжении нескольких часов. Я, блядь, полон ебаных сил. И меня хуй, короче, сейчас, в общем-то... Ну, вы видите, блядь, мой ебальник помятый. Он вообще размят. Ну, я просто не засну сейчас, серьезно. Мне вообще некуда бежать. Не к чему стремиться. Ты как будто бухой. Да я, блядь, только проснулся, считайте. Из полудрема. Проснулся из полудрема, короче. Приветствую всех ищущих, блядь, и мыслящих, нахуй. Всех, блядь, приветствую. Рад, блядь, всех, нахуй, видеть сегодня. Уф. Мы добьем эту игру. Мы добьем сегодня эту хуйню, блядь. Я не отпущу. Я просто так это не отпущу, блядь. Мне нужно 1,5 часа что-то делать. Давайте, блядь, стрим. Я скучал по вас. Ребят, я по вам скучал. Я чуть не сдох, блядь, в этом одиночестве. В одиночестве без моих зрителей, блядь. Один, блядь, без зрителей. Сидел там в темноте ебаной. Чё по притче? Да пиздец, блядь. Я только проснулся. Сейчас, где? А, вон она. Во, притчу поправил. Все, притча на месте. Живой. Чё, давайте распространять информацию о стриме. Притчу поправил. У меня еще голос смешной, да, сейчас, наверное. Охуенно, блядь. Охуенно. Хай, Илья, привет. Пиздец. Просто пиздец, блядь. Просто пиздец. Нахуй. Ёбаный в рот этого казино, блядь. Ой, блядь. Через 5 минут играем в Stanley Parable. Сейчас я везде отправляю информацию о том, что мы играем. Пиздец, блядь. Пиздец, как я... Everyone. Не, ну, блядь, ну, честно, я думал, не будет нормально, думал, блядь, хотя бы посплю, думал, засну, завтра утром хотя бы включат. В 1:40, нахуй, И вдруг так вот. Слышь, Вяч, блядь, ты охуел. Я искренне считаю, что ты охуел. Всем чатом считаем, что ты охуел просто. Bring me everyone, окей. Ну чё, ребят, есть кто вообще? Чё, 6 человек в 2 ночи? Охуенно на самом деле. Честно говоря, могло быть и хуже намного. Ща разомнусь, потянусь. Таймер включаем. Таймер, блядь. Таймер, сука, включил. Хорошо, я нашел таймер. Так, час. Ну, там где-то 30 оставалось. Даже с небольшим бонусом я, получается, отдаю сейчас вам время, да, с небольшим бонусом, ну, ибо моя вина. Че, продолжаем играть в Stanley Parable. Только в игру, да, мы больше нихуя не успеем. 1,5 часа порубаем в игру. Я ее хотя бы закрою, эту, блядь, игру. А там уже остальное дело техники, конечно. Может завтра, блять. Я проебал целый стрим, блять. Мне же эти деньги нахуй никто не вернет. Никто не вернет мне эти деньги. Вы же понимаете, да? Охуеть. Ёбаный свет. Просто отрубился ебучий свет. Что происходит? У меня свет отрубался. Я только включили. Я вернулся. Мы играем в Stanley Parable. 1,5 часа играем в Stanley Parable. Я не могу позволить себе завтра, блядь, играть в Stanley Parable. Я сегодняшние деньги просрал. У меня сегодня день был на отыгрыш всего говна, понимаете? У меня сегодняшний день был на отыгрыш. А они, блядь, меня киданули. Я просто охуеваю. Dragon Ball Super вряд ли, кстати, успеем замутить сегодня, да? То есть вряд ли сегодня получится. Блядь, ты что доебываешься? Точно, блядь, заебал. Блядь, как эта игра заебывает вот в этом моменте. Это уже второй раз. Только не выключайся. В смысле начать игру? Блядь, заново придется. Ну, заставку стартовую мы видели и без того, я думаю, да? Так.
This is the story of a man
Да.
named Stanley.
Да.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided
Сейчас
to go
покажу
to the
вам одно
meeting.
место.
Perhaps he had simply missed
А
a
потом
memo.
пойдем по основному сюжету. Осталось только одно местечко, где мы не были.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Мы еще не спрыгивали с той хуйни.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took
Ну, вы
the
это уже
first
видели
open
сегодня,
door
я
on his
поэтому
left.
быстро пробегаю.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible.
Сейчас надо упасть, вот
ago.
смотрите. Вот на ту штуку, на ту дорожку. Эта штука будет проезжать, я должен хорошо упасть в нужное место.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here.
И пойти
I'm
туда.
not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be
Там будет
difficult.
особая
But the
концовка.
fact is that
Одна
the
из.
story has been about nothing but you all this time.
Раз,
There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley.
3.
Someone
Оп.
you forgot.
Есть.
Really? I
Есть.
was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this.
Сейчас пониже вас поставлю сюда, чтобы вам видно было.
But I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Видели, да, трюк? Я до него не сразу догадался, мне вроде бы...
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
No.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Я нихуя не ослышался.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
Ха-ха.
All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen?
Да.
Well, don't let me stop
Ой,
you.
блядь. Сейчас я еще ниже делаю. Ну, более того, я сейчас не засну, потому что холодно в доме. Мне его прогреть, блядь, надо. Я сейчас печь включил.
You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you?
Когда я в первый раз играл,
I think I
охуенно.
put a lot of time into that because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing, because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark in the design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
А вот эту хуйню я не видел. Вот это как раз ебать.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices?
Нет, видел.
Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
Да у меня стрим только что... У меня, ну, то есть, блядь.
Oh, well, now this is useful. You didn't like it, but you didn't totally hate it either. You enjoyed it, perhaps is the correct term. It didn't cause you excruciating pain. Big steps we've made here today, Stanley. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Блядь. Прикольно. Не, вроде эту штуку мы не видели.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity
Бля,
to
по-моему,
give it
здесь
some
будет
playtesting.
сейчас
You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Будет Майнкрафт вроде, да?
In this game,
нет.
the baby crawls left
Я в это играл,
towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective?
4 часа спасать ребенка от смерти. 4 часа, прикиньте. Ладно, сжигаем ребенка. Похуй.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me?
4 часа, блядь, играть.
Well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm out. I'm done.
Это игра, в которой...
Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable.
Это игра, в которой просто рассказчик тобой, ну вот, тебя развлекает.
Why don't we play someone else's game, just to ease the pain? Let's see.
Это игра, в которой тебя развлекает рассказчик. Слушайте, что он говорит, блядь. Читайте. Это охуенно. Я вам тут секретные проходки показываю, а вы выебываетесь, Маркус. Круче, наверное, только Суперлиминал. Ну там вообще вроде ни одного слова не произносится за всю игру. Блядь! Что? Чего, блядь? Где я нахуй? Что это?
What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity.
Блять, пиздец, как охуенно. Карта меняется, блять, на ходу. Рассказчик тебя веселит, блять. Вот это вот хуйня какая-то происходит. Да вы чего? Это настолько охуй... Блять, да что это вообще? Ебать. Ебать, как неожиданно. Почти все, что здесь происходит, оно неожиданно, понимаете? И это охуенно, блять. Вы почти в каждой игре можете предсказать, что там дальше произойдет. Ой, блядь, сейчас пойдет супербосс, здесь меня будут ебать, там здесь я буду ебать, там все хорошо. Вот теперь главные там персонажи поебутся, там вот это вот все. Здесь ты вообще нихуя не представляешь, что происходит. Вот что это за хуйня вообще?
Oh, no. No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off. Thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call.
Вот кто бы подумал, что стена вырастет.
Thing, that big open, just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in any. Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls.
То есть игра дала вам возможность, видите, выйти в какой-то открытый мир. Потом еще какую-то хуйню намутила. По-моему, охуенно.
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed. Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Мяч. Мяч. Нихуя себе он бежит, блядь. Ускорился, ебать, гол! Где ворота-то вообще? А, вот ворота, простите.
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on?
Да.
Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball.
Забей. Я забил гол.
Yes. Oh, goodness,
еще мячи, блядь, охуеть.
Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable.
Мячи, блядь.
More balls.
Блядь. Охуенно. Это же охуенно, блядь, ребят. Настолько охуенно, насколько только можно. Гол. Гол. Ну нет, видеоигра, конечно, хуёвая, но в контексте данной игры охуенно.
That's right. Your little fun comes to an end. This is my game, and what I say goes. You get to have fun when I let you, Stanley. Besides, you need someone like me to set boundaries for you. Without rules or boundaries, video games are nothing. Yes, that's what I am. I am structure. I'm your sense of purpose. And since you decided you didn't want to play my game, now I don't want to play with you either. So, goodbye, Stanley. I'm leaving. See how you like it when I'm not around to set the rules. Somehow, I don't think you'll enjoy it as much. But who knows? You're an inventive kid. You'll come up with something. After all, you're the one who knows best. Take care, Stanley.
Че, все? И что? И чего? И чего дальше? Он забрал у меня мячи. Он забрал, блядь, у меня мячики. Сюда прыгаем. Да.
Hold on. What are you doing?
А что еще? Бля.
Я все то, во что ты верил все эти годы. Сармат, Марко, Погром, Рудой, Грин, Саныч, Гоблин. Я и есть все это, другие нормы.
Спасибо огромное.
Я и есть кринж, парень.
Я и есть кринж.
Смотрим завтра аниме «Горец». В поисках вместе. 2007.
Так, аниме «Горец». Аниме «Горец». 2007. Большое спасибо, Илья, большое спасибо. Порадовали. Я думал, я сегодня ничего вообще не заработаю. Буду сидеть. Буду сидеть в бедности, но нет, Илья сегодня нас спас. Большое спасибо. Посмотрим. Бля. Где я? Ну что, фильм «Горец» заказали? Да ладно. Блядь. Пиздец, я в каком-то аду. Есть столько разных вариаций просто вот на основе некоторых поведенческих фишек. Подрубив в 6 утра посмотрит издание. Не, если бы я круглосуточно стримил, донат все равно было бы в конечном итоге больше. Я бы отрабатывал больше и денег было бы больше, конечно. То есть, ну, если сидеть просто по дефолту все время возможное, но рано или поздно донатить будут просто больше. Но это перебор. Где я? Что?
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice. And if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
О, круто. Вампиры, ниндзя, горцы. Последовательно. Что, сначала все? Мы увидели одну концовку, ребят. Еще одну концовку.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
New content.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Я открыл новый контент, ребят. Поехали. Полетели в новый контент. Опа. Здесь я еще вообще никогда не был.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over.
Пиздец.
Please step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable.
О, мы пошли в новый контент. Основную заставку мы сегодня вряд ли увидим.
Delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Но при этом мы нормально так побаловались.
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet,
Теперь
but
новые
I'm sure
заставки.
it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Ну и?
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere? Oh, here we go.
Поехали.
All right, finally, at long last, it's
Игра
on to the
охуенная.
new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
Вот буквально просто ходишь и выбираешь кучу всяких маленьких выборов, и тут куча всего открывается. Куча шуток, куча юмора. Это Ультра Делюкс, это новый как раз материал в ней. Большую часть до этого, все, что мы видели, это уже не новые материалы. Хотя вот мяча я не видел, когда я играл вот футбольного поля. Честно говоря. Хотя хрен его знает, было или нет. Ну, посмотрим. Чего?
Alright, let's see, it's the jump circle.
Вот это контентич, блядь. Завезли. Все.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
Сука, Что? Блядь! Как хуйня началась.
Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could counter 30 trillion. You could put that on the book. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes.
Что дальше?
I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Блять, с прыжками смешно. Thank you for enjoying the new...
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fanbase rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it.
Это
In fact, I'm
охуенно,
looking
блядь.
right now at the game's
Это охуенно.
achievements. And it's hard to believe one of them actually says, test achievement, please ignore. What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game? And we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Блять, у меня выбора нет, что я скажу, друг. Че, реально все? Что? Че нахуй? Началось! Началось, ребят. Все, новое место. Охуеть. Как же это классно.
Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Дед, забей, я пойду дальше.
Oh, you don't want to see the cool surprise I made? Well, fine. You're a dork anyway, so who cares?
О. Ну ладно, пойдем в вентиляцию. Попробуем в вентиляцию залезть. Дальше, видимо, стандарт будет. Выход на стандарт, хотя хуй его знает. Пойдем посмотрим, что он там нам показать хотел. Присесть может.
Never mind. You're not a dog.
О, ладно, ты не козел. Новый контент, ребят. Мое почтение.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look. I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Ну, здесь какой-то большая часть контента, она типа про саму игру. Типа, какая она охуенная. Ну, игра охуенная. Ой, блядь, что? Что нахуй?
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created. Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley
Рекомендую
Parable
поиграть,
was.
запустить и часик-другой побегать. И вы поймете.
Ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them.
Persona
and now
3.
It's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Ой, теперь сюда. Что тут у нас? Нельзя. За мной дверь закрылась же. О, Person of the Year. Year, простите. Блин, как же...
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories. These were simpler times, Stanley, but I wouldn't give to go back to have it all over again.
Whoa.
Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone. What's this? What's down here? Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I have not been here. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Отзывы Steam.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Блин, вот несмотря ни на что, норм.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. I always, well, to be honest, I have always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse.
Что там написано? Зрителей, не знаю сколько по всем платформам, на ютубе сейчас 7-8 в 2 часа, в 2:30 вообще-то, нормально. Это очень неплохо, кстати, это очень хороший результат. Спасибо, что со мной сидите, ребят. У нас еще час игры, но тут как хотите. Я поставил цель доиграть. Ну, чтобы хотя бы сегодняшний день, знаете, закончился хоть как-то позитивно. Ну, скорее всего, 8, 1, 2, и не знаю, сколько там на ВКонтакте. Наверное, все. Бля, как же охуенно. Слушайте, игра даже, ну, она и старым контентом смешила, хотя я его уже частично видел. Ой, бля. И вот это тоже забавно.
You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto.
Пиздец, вот эта штука, да, неожиданно.
And here it is. Go. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary... Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only...
Блять, он умер. Рассказчик помер. Непонятно. А что произошло?
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability, it's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek every...
Ну, блядь, чё?
The end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
Ну чё, всё? Что происходит? Кнопки пока не отжимаются. Здесь уже капает. Теперь можно. Еще разок. Ха-ха! Нежданчик. Сейчас. Надо достать зарядку, видимо. У меня почему-то более резкие движения стали мышки. Возможно, она отрубается постепенно немножко. Блять, они все это прорабатывали, прикиньте. Я вот так вот щелкаю, 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 они все это прорабатывали, охуенно. Ну все, может хватит уже с кнопкой? Бля, все, почти. Ого. Один на солнце. Мое почтение. Все, сначала. Понаблюдали новый контент. Хватит. Ой, бля, компьютер. А, не, вот компьютер. Ну окей, пронаблюдали новый контент.
What could it mean?
Допустим.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ну не, конечно.
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Берем супер нью контент. Новейший. Ну что там супер нью? New content.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Бля, игра просто троллит, блядь.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean?
Бля, вот это норм.
But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Красиво. Ну, они здесь красиво надизайнили.
Try out some of the new features.
Что за новые фичи?
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Jim.
sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it.
Блять, опять затроллили. Я думал, сейчас реально мое имя будет.
Deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim.
Я доверчивый, ужасно.
I want you to imagine yourself.
Ребят, кто нас смотрит, отзовитесь. 5 человек, люблю. Давайте, ребят.
Falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim, watching your dreams crumble into dust.
Jim.
Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're doing it again, and this time let me finish first.
Зрители, кто нас смотрит?
Now,
отзовитесь, пожалуйста.
Become Jim. All right, fine, whatever. It's just a meaningless button that says Jim. Are you happy now? Get out of here. I'm done with this button. Why don't you go humiliate me in front of a different feature that I worked very hard on?
Джим. Привет, Дмитрий. О, Ирина здесь. Ирина, любим Ирину. Алекса тоже любим. Приветствую, ребят.
Maybe I'll only let people named Jim play the Stanley Parable too. An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it will go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Халявное достижение. Ну давайте. Давайте халявные достижения.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes, you see,
технология, которая выдает достижения.
The achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that. Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley. But I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel, to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Ну, выглядит пиздато. Блин, а реально столько всего проделано ради какой-то просто шутки. Блин, это круто. Машина достижений. Как же не слабо.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Бесконечная дыра. Давайте в бесконечную дыру. Infinity Hall. New screenshot. Ну что, посмотрим. О.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium. You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward.
Кайф.
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
В смысле, она не бесконечная?
Okay, Stanley. I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature. Is it a
Вас не играл.
deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, The infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just
Почти бесконечный.
Infinite. If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole, and we can
Нет, я не пойду.
I'll just be up here when you're ready.
Не-не-не, чел, иди нахер. Ты меня наебываешь. Тихо. Не буду я нажимать твою G. Не буду. На точку G не нажимаю. По просьбам трудящихся. Ну давай. Ну в смысле, ты мне выбора не оставил? Или может есть выбор? Бля, не, он не реагирует. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Не, ничего нет. 2. Один, ладно.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel. Oh, for heaven... You see, I was right. The problem is you. The problem is that you like holes too much. Not normal. A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there, goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of... Oh. Did the hole seem even shorter to you this time? I couldn't help but feel like you spent a little less time in there than you did before.
Такое.
I mean, admittedly, I didn't make an infinite hole, but I didn't think it was that not infinite. Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above. Had enough? I'm positively thrilled. Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts to become a thing where... Wow. Okay. Yes. I'm starting to become extremely certain that the hole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite. I suspect that I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability and marketing. What's going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's length. Here, let's try something. Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter.
Добьем эту дыру.
Well, there it is. The shame of... How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do and hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on. Is the teleport button not working? You sure? Well, I mean, I really don't have an explanation. It was working just a moment ago. Try it again. Still nothing? Well, I suppose there is one thing I can do to fix this. I'm out. Goodbye, Stanley. You couldn't bear to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more time with it than you could ever have asked. It's a win for everyone. You get to be with the hole, I get to do literally anything else. Take care, Stanley. I hope you and the hole have a wonderful rest of eternity together.
Ну, чел, так неинтересно. Ну, чё ты? Ну, чё ты, блядь, обиделся, что ли? Ну, чё такое? Ну, блядь. Ну, блядь, дед. Ну, вернись. Ну, блядь, ну, ты чё? Ой, бля. Питер или я? Что происходит? Все зависло, кажется. Норм.
Stanley? 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 Oh, good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of dozed off there, drifting away into dreamland. But we can't have that, Stanley, because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment. So how about if I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really, truly focused on the hole? From the looks of things, you and I will have many, many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodlepip.
Бля, ну отпусти. Ну отпусти, давай другой контент. Нормально. Это было круто. Блядь, может прыжки... А, все. Сначала. Прям с самого начала. Ну, блин. А, не, отсюда.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
The button that says gym. Ха-ха-ха. Дыра великолепна. Прыжок. Прыжковый круг видели. Почти бесконечную дыру прошли. No screenshots. Что?
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, step-niece, it is. Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No. No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Мы здесь уже были? Че, мы весь контент уже, что ли, пооткрывали? Да ну. Блять, он повернулся. Смотри, чёчек. А, он крутится. Чёчек крутится, да. Free New Easy Achievement мы получили. Collectibles. Ну, идем в Collectibles, видимо. Красота.
Ah, Collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Нет, не пройти.
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Jump circle 5 this map. Free achievement. The button that says merch. Z. Setting world champion. The Stanley Parable reoccurrence bucket. Office decoration. Epilogue. Collectibles. Infinity Hall. Так и я и остальных пока не вижу. Во, Jump Circle.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle? Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Все? Чё? Эй! Как же игра ебет, конечно. Жестко. Мерч. Ну чё, Research Bucket будет впереди скоро. Мерч, ребят, мерч. I saw the new content. Вот здесь что написано? The Stanley Parable 2. Да, забавно, ладно. Успокаивающее ведро, ребят. Пошли. Блин, они еще изменили все, смотрите. Почти бесконечная дыра. Почти бесконечная дыра, ребят. Все, вот здесь мы не были. Пошли.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arm. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
Ну, давай попробуем.
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Блять, я иду с ведром.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Видимо, выход.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now? So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Блин. Куда я попал?
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Та же заставка.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number
Шарики.
427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-worker.
Ладно. Это уже не сейчас. Здесь ведро.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
Можно его бросить? Нахер. Бля, как же дико, как охуенно.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
No.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
Мы еще в
And here
красную
it
сторону не
was.
прошли.
Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go... Good,
Said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Мы идем в красную. Здесь ничего не изменили, кажется. Фуф.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment. Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 2. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Как же игра не идет.
Item 3. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. This is a bucket. Item 4. Is this a bucket? Are you hallucinating? This is a tractor. It's an enormous machine that tills the earth. I thought this was a gimmick. How on earth did you manage to screw it up? Absolutely incredible. Let's just move on to the next one. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a bucket. Item 6. Is this a bucket? Trick question. Both. Gotcha. Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere. Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something. And therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket?
Да.
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence, and yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry, but I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go.
Бля, избавился от ведер.
Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue. But it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
С ведром попробуем опять направо.
Stanley clutched the bucket
этот раз последуем совету
This was
ведра.
not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Good,
said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Подчиняюсь командам ведра.
In here,
said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Now pick up the phone,
said the bucket.
Pick up the phone and it will take us back home.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
Да, спрыгивал, только что спрыгивал с грузового лифта. И до этого спрыгивал в сегодняшнем прохождении. Я все время спрыгиваю с грузового лифта. В этом какое-то есть что-то такое, знаете, маньячное, наверное. И... А, вот ведро. Фух.
The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
На кухне отходил. Окей, чтобы взять меня домой.
Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object, I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me. Well, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think, it can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it. It doesn't do anything else. You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is this awful bucket. This stupid hunk of metal. It's sad, but I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
Сколько можно?
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another. Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket? Oh no. I'm having feelings for the bucket. No. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong with... I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes, the bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation. Stanley, give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley. I need it. Give it to me now. Give it or I'll...
Блин, классно. Так. Мы прожили
All of
еще
his co-workers were gone.
заставку.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps the confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket.
Сейчас мы с ведром спустимся вниз. Ну, по основному сюжету мы не прошли не в первый раз, когда с доп-контентом были. Не сейчас. Но сейчас мы пойдем по центру. Только что посмотреть, какие вариации доступны. Вот в эту дверь, в левую. Просто с ведром все меняется, ребят. Ведро все меняет.
Oh, good Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually. You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
О, лазает. Ну, типа открыт, окей. Бля, ребенок. Интересно, чего ребенка использовали?
Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
Ну, это мы уже видели.
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
Блин, опять идем по линии, а все равно забавно, видите? Видите, как просто голос. Просто... Ой. Oh my fucking...
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready. Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it for the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry! The Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
You were magnificent. Ну. Все. Это еще одна концовка была. Быстро. Ну ладно. Пошли.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Берем или не берем? Мы, блин, по основному пути все равно не ходили пока что, с ведром или без. Ладно, пойдем с ведром. Когда-то я без ведра ходил, давайте... Так, что-то тут по-другому стало. Они решили сократить путь мне. Нет, мне кажется.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Окей. У нас 4 минуты есть.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket.
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley. Find me.
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought.
Бля, слишком много ведра, блин. Они просто все в ведро.
But of course, she had no time for this. There were
Ладно, я все по
myriad of
ведру. Я
confusing
все в ведро
problems
брал.
she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself. My life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
Так. Что тут у нас? Что
All
это?
of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Бля.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply... When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated.
Ладно, ладно. Все, хватит. Поиграли. Охуенно. О, yes. Ладно, ребят, на сегодня я уже спать, наверное, пойду. На сегодня я пойду спать. Спасибо вам большое, что посидели со мной. Мы поиграли в игрушку отличную. Новый контент, мое почтение. Ведро заебись. 10 из 10 ведер. Я рад, что я отыграл сейчас, потому что завтра уже будет поздно, с одной стороны. Но я надеюсь, Спидвагон это видел. Я надеюсь, Спидвагону, ну как, вот. Ну, все-таки он заказал, да, сегодня у нас свет рубанули. Я вот серьезно, сорян, так получилось. Я еще вышел на улицу, представляете, погулять, посмотреть, что там у кого поблизости, свет тоже вырубили. Погулял немножко, вернулся, пришел, попечатал на ноутбуке немножко одну главу для будущей книжки, там еще что-то сделал, еще что-то сделал. И в итоге в 1:30 врубили свет. И я решил, ну, блядь, что делать? Я поспать почти успел. Я не знаю, я спал, не спал, там какой-то, знаете, полудрем был. И я понял, что я сейчас не засну еще 1,5 часа точно. Я решил, поехали играть. Ладно, ребят, спасибо, что со мной были. Спокойной ночи, Дмитрий, спокойной ночи, Ирина. Там Александр, наверное, тоже смотрит. Всем, короче, спокойной ночи. Ну и Спидвагон, если все это просмотрит, ему тоже, в общем, всего самого хорошего и замечательного, друзья. Все, давайте завтра. 18:00 завтра, получается, увидимся. Да, на голове кринж полный. Ну ладно, пока. Пока, ребят.